Now to check this, I'm gonna head right to idle state. By default, this idle state will be running based on what we have here, set attributes and states. This by default will automatically try to uh, perform idle the moment it tries to update any data asset using the same function I have given you. So this will run idle right away. Idle must be here as well. So all the states that you are going to be using across the whole project, whether it's attacking, assassinating, specials, dodging, walking, sprinting, all of it has to be here. So we're going to start with idle, and slowly we will build upon that, how to extend the states and how to add more to it. Now for now, since this is an overview, let's just take it easy for now. So the states, two things you have to keep in mind. Actually, a little bit more than two, but there's two essential functions you need to keep an eye on: start state and an end state. End is not being used in here because I'm using it on the base player state. So let's go a little bit deeper into this. If you go here, you'll see a bunch of functions that are essentially important. Just remember this, like I mentioned in the documentation, only one state is active at any given time. If a new state will run, it will automatically replace the one before it. So what happens when a state gets constructed? This is what function runs. I'm just saving a value to the owner character and some of its components. The start state, this is where the action matters. It's gonna be dependent on the state and it's not on the general one. Clear state values will happen before changing the state. So let's just say you call this function right here. Before it sets the new state to be active, it will try to clear the current active one. So let's just say you're in idle. Before you go to equip, you're gonna clear the idle values if there is any. The way you clear that is you go to the idle and you add clear state values. Make sure you call the parent if there's something on the parent that you want to happen. For me, I always do that. And if there's any variables you want to reset, you reset them here. So we don't need this. We're just going to use the one from the parent. That's why I'm not going to set anything. And there's also actually two more important things. One called end state. That's what happens when you end the state. And take a state. Take a state, well, from its name, it will only take it, but make sure and put 100 lines under this. Take a state only runs if the state is active. If it's not active, it will never run. So three things to keep an eye for: construct, start, and end. Tick only if you need it. So for me, I'm gonna start idle. I'm not doing anything. I'm not changing anything in the animation blueprint. I'm not doing any animation. I'm not changing nothing. So on the starter state, I'm setting a default allowed input. What default allowed input is what I say when the does the state allow input will be asking for each state. It will ask permission from every state that is running, or the current active, not every state, my bad, only the active state that is running. It will ask it what state does it allow at any given time. So for idle, there's something called default allowed inputs, this function that I have right here, and you can specify what inputs can fire when idle is enabled or when idle is active. So let's just say I played from here. I'm legit in idle. There's nothing in here. To help you visualize it, if you go to the controller, I have this. You could copy it if you like. Just connect it and it will tell you what is active at any given time. In development, I keep this active all the time. So if you play, on top left you'll see state idle. So this way you know that idle is active currently. So if I click left click, it will ask idle, can I perform equip? Or can I perform this input? It won't ask for the equip, it will ask for the input. So if that input is allowed, which something we can specify here, attack is here, as well as actually that's attack input, so it doesn't have to do anything with equip.
just this. If attack input is registered, proceed. And this is why equip fired. So that explains this. Now if you go back to idle state, there's few other things you need to keep an eye for. If you go to class defaults, on the right you will see a state gameplay tag. Make sure this is always set. The gameplay tag here identifies what is state have to be running from the states to create. So every state here will have its own state gameplay tag to be registered with. So this function right here, if you want to get a state of gameplay tag, this returns the parent of it, which is a C++ thing. You won't have to worry about it. But if you want to get a specific state, you get it by tag or by class. There's a new function here called get a state of gameplay, get state of a class, and you can get the class, but it still returns you the generic one. This way we avoid any references problems, any memory unneeded stuff. So just I prefer personally using this. So make sure all your states are being tagged with a gameplay tag. This way you can know what to use at some point. The second thing you need to keep an eye on is the time controlled state. Time controlled state will determine if this state will run, and after a period of time something should happen. So after a period of time, if you go back down the chain, you'll see that there's a timer running, and with that timer, what happens if a certain time is reached? For me, I'm not doing anything on the player side, but I'm doing it on the AI. You don't need to worry about this. For the player stuff, mostly you won't need this. So that will cover how states run on base surface level. We're gonna go down later on explaining how does a state run an ability and how does the ability perform the montage and so on. But for now, just know this. This is state controlled. Under the states will come abilities and so on.